Hello and welcome back to another episode of Schedule One. Today's
Yeah.
episode is about 2CB. Um, this is kind of a special episode because this is our first more or less obscure drug. I'd say fucking everyone knows about
Mhm.
Kush,
Everybody.
acid, shrooms, Molly, but I feel like 2CB. Like if you ask people about that, you get some raised eyebrows. Uh,
What?
so this is kind of an
There's
uncommon
something,
drug.
yeah, something you didn't know about, maybe.
hmm so to give a little bit of history on it, 2CB, as it sounds, is from the psychedelic 2C family. It was synthesized by a guy named Alexander Shulgin, and this dude was a chemical genius. I kind of want to do an episode devoted to him because I'm really interested in his work. I think he synthesized over 230 psychoactive compounds, I believe.
Huh,
Um, he did a lot of shit. I think he also synthesized Molly. Actually, we might have talked about him
really?
a
I
little
didn't
bit.
know that.
Yeah, dude's a fucking
He's
genius.
got a very good synthesis.
yeah, he's an interesting guy, but we'll get more into him in later episodes. Um, Actually, that was a lie. I'll bring it up now again. 2CB. So Shulgin had what he called the magical half dozen, and these are six chemicals that he absolutely loved. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but 2CB was definitely in there. I believe mescaline and Molly were as well.
Oh,
Um, it has been called the party psychedelic, and we'll get into why it's called that a little bit later in the episode. Um, to give a quick history lesson on it, I believe it was, I think it was first synthesized in the 70s. It was legal for therapeutic use in the 80s, and then it was made illegal in 95. I think actually
good year.
once, yeah, I think once Molly became, or MDMA became illegal, people went to 2CB as a MDMA replacement.
I
Um,
can see that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was after Shulgin synthesized it, he used it for therapeutic purposes, and then after like a few years of being used in therapy, 2CB is actually incredibly sexual. People also call it the sexual psychedelic. It was sold as an aphrodisiac for a few years, just
What is it
because it
like?
like.
Does it make you like come like with the force of 1,000 suns, or does it make it last longer, or
So I personally haven't tried smashing while on 2CB,
not even
but
a wank?
not even a wink. Um, I think like it. This is all speculation. I haven't done any research into this. I think it does
I
increase
haven't
blood
done any
flow to your
research into
genitals.
this.
Well, like I didn't research into the
No
aphrodisiac properties of it, but
experimentation was taken into this.
but I think like I think it does kind of increase blood flow to the genitals, but I think it also just puts you into a more sensual mindset.
Yeah, I
Two
can see that.
CB 2CB is also classified as an empathogen, and that's what Molly's classified as. Like it's an empathetic drug. So I think like relating with other people, just getting into like that touchy feely, lovey dovey mood. I think 2CB is really good for that. Um, yeah, that's it hasn't had a super active history. I think that's about it for the history. Um,
Hmm.
to get into like the effects of it, 2CB is interesting because 40 milligrams is about as high as you're ever going to want to go on it. But going up just as little as 5 milligrams produces really different effects from 5 milligrams below it. So, like, up till I think about 15 milligrams, it's not even psychedelic. It can be classified as a stimulant.
Hmm.
It just kind of energizes you. Um, but once you get up to about, I think 25 safely, that's the lowest I've ever done. 25 milligrams is where you can say you start to notice some psychedelic properties to it. And once you hit about 30, that's you are on a psychedelic drug.
Yeah,
Like that is when
there.
you know.
Isn't typically like 2CB like mixed with other substances?
Yeah, very commonly. So It's called again, like it's called the party psychedelic just because it's so easy to combine with other things and it's so easy to handle on its own. For those of you that have taken like acid or shrooms, like it's a hell of a time, but you're not going to go to a frat party on fucking acid. Like, I mean, I guess some people do, but
I
for the
guess you
most part, you're
could,
not
but
going
it'd be
to.
kind of weird. You,
It
being in
would
a
be weird.
social situation, you kind of like want to hide or something.
Yeah, I can't see myself enjoying like a party, like a frat party, on LSD. But like with 2CB, it's very controllable. It's very lucid, and you still have a pretty clear headspace when you're on it. So it's easy. Like you can take 2CB and go to Mardi Gras, and you won't feel overwhelmed, or you can go to a party and you won't like there won't be bad vibes around.
You can drive. No, I
I
don't advocate that.
I mean, I could probably drive if I had to, but yeah, I don't
Would you
advocate
drive
it
to
at
like
all.
Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street?
um,
Have you seen that movie?
I think I have.
Where he
Yeah,
drives like
I
wasted?
definitely seen scenes of it. Yeah, when nah, dude, he wasn't wasted. He was on an assload of quaaludes.
Yeah, he was wasted.
um, but the effects of 2CB, they have really weird visuals. They're difficult to quantify. So the best way to put it is it's very typical for people to see hues and shades of reds and greens. That's very normal to get like an increase of red and green color. There's a lot of I would say there's a lot of distortions, but not quite in the way of LSD where things are
I felt like it was like a baby LSD, like a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit LSD and a little bit Molly mixed together,
Yeah, it's very common when
like a
people
candy flip.
yeah, yeah. To simplify the effects of 2CB, a lot of people say it's kind of like taking a little bit of acid with a little bit of Molly, um, which I would say is true. I feel like with 2CB, the visuals I got like a lot of layering with things.
Hmm.
I feel like things were overlapping one another as opposed to acid, where things like breathe and get wavy and flowy. Um,
Yeah,
trying to think
it
of
was more like sparkly almost, like, to
yeah,
me.
that's another common thing that people say.
Um,
I'm trying to think. Oh, I also get a lot of size changes, which I haven't really seen online, but both times I've taken 2CB by itself, um, I got a decent amount of size changes, whether I was like doing something with my phone or looking at a picture in my apartment. I would see things visibly get larger and smaller. Which that's kind of unique. People say they experience that on acid. I have yet to, but on 2CB, I regularly get size
so
differences.
I know we took 2CB together. When do you remember your first time taking it?
Um, yes. So my first time taking it was only 25 milligrams. The guy that I got it from, that's what he recommended, and personally, it's a little light for me. My first trip was good, but it was hard to tell that I was tripping.
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe it's because like when I take psychedelics, I really really enjoy the visuals, and that's partly how I gauge how hard I'm tripping. On the 25 milligrams, I knew I was getting visuals, but it was so weak and so light, I couldn't tell what they were, if that makes sense. Like I was
Hmm.
seeing things happening, but I couldn't explain what was happening. I guess a better way to put it is I was seeing things that wanted to start changing, but they just didn't have the push to fully,
Just a
I guess,
little like
commit.
wriggling almost.
Yeah, like it was the beginning of a hallucination. It was a good trip. I Music sounded really good. I felt just really good about me. I had like a little bit of that stimulation, so I went for a walk around my complex, which was really
Hmm.
nice. It was just a pleasant trip. But the second time I took it at 32 milligrams, also when you took it, that is when like that is a 2CB trip.
And that
Uh,
was last Saturday. So this is like mildly fresh in our minds.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was that frequent or
It
that
wasn't that
that
far
recent.
ago. It was Saturday and it was pouring af and dark, so we planned to go to the beach, but
Yeah, that was a
nature
shame.
had other plans, so we did. We took it inside, and but yeah, it's pretty nice trip. I can't like remember like specific visuals that just stood out to me.
I think part of that for me personally with uh with the 2CB, I feel like the visuals are all over the place. Like
Mhm.
with shrooms and acid for sure, and at a higher dose of Molly, you kind of know what you're going to get into. Um, before I take, if I were to pop acid right now, I have a good idea of what I'm going to be seeing. But with 2CB, the visuals are kind of all over the place. Like both
It was
times,
different. I mean, you could definitely judge if it was from another drug or something new, something you had never seen before.
yeah, like to continue with what I was saying earlier, I was getting a lot of like overlapping. So when I would look at my hardwood floor, it would look like the individual, I guess, planks of wood would try to like start to fold over one another, like dough being kneaded or like taffy being made. Like
Hmm.
they were like rolling all over one another. When I was looking at pictures, I would see the individual images in this like the picture we have in the living room is a massive $1 bill with splotches of color all over it. And when I was looking at that, I was seeing cultural symbols, which is pretty normal. I feel like I see a lot of that on most psychedelics I do. But this looks like it was from some kind of fictitious fire worshipping culture. I got like
The Fire
flaming.
Nation.
Yeah, I was seeing
There's an
symbols from the
attack
Fire Nation.
coming. You're the new avatar, dude.
I saw yeah, so I saw like Fire Nation cultural symbols. Within the picture, the color was overlapping and combining as well. It's definitely a different class of visual.
I
Uh,
remember. Go ahead. Or are you
oh,
done?
yeah, I'm pretty much done. I was about to ask, what kind of stuff was happening with you?
I remember during the trip, I went into the bathroom and I got turned off all the lights, and it was dark F, pitch black. And I'm
Mm.
standing there and I feel kind of uneasy at first. And then all of a sudden I hear this ringing, and my body just like starts to kind of like convulse just a little bit, just kind of like just a shiver.
Okay.
And it just fades away. And I was having like a really good experience. It was something like, I feel like if you gave a psychedelic to a blind person, this is how they would feel.
Oh, that's
It
interesting.
was really powerful. Just like a mind, like a tremor in my brain. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah, that's super interesting.
It
So,
was
like,
pretty cool.
okay, so with 2CB, in my experience, like I said earlier, you have a very sober headspace. I wouldn't want to have to talk to my parents while tripping on 2CB, but I think I could pull it off.
Mm.
Uh, what kind of like, what was happening when you were in the bathroom? Like, can you explain, like, were you sober or thinking
I was
soberly?
like,
Or,
it was like being put in like in a sense, like my senses were stimulated, but I had no senses. Because I wasn't
interesting.
touching anything, I wasn't using any of my senses, and it just all, that stimulation had to go somewhere, I imagine,
Hmm.
and it was just a very like wavy feeling on my body. It's hard to describe this powerful emotion that comes over you.
Do you think it's an emotion that you felt this before?
It was just like a contemplation of like what is going on here,
Okay.
and I don't know. It was something I hadn't ever like experienced before with psychedelics, going into like a pitch black room like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually don't think I've done that either. It's a good idea though. I think next time I do anything, I'll go into the dark and see what that's like. what I
But
really
okay.
this is kind of a tangent, but I would love to try a sensory deprivation chamber.
Oh yeah, I
And
think I would too.
dude, that sounds amazing. I'd love to try it, and I really want to own one, but I don't want to shell out the 10K for it. Uh, but I would love to also try various psychedelics within a sensory deprivation chamber. I just think that'd be like an amazing headspace that would put you in.
Imagine taking like acid and then getting in one of those flying boosts, the air gliding boosts, like the just powerful jets shoot up from the ground and you like float in the air.
Oh yeah. I know
That'd be cool as shit, dude.
that would be cool. I'd really enjoy
Because
that.
you just be like floating. Imagine they turned off all the lights.
I wonder if you can request that.
That'd be pretty cool. It'd be like floating through space.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. Like, I feel like with a sensory deprivation chamber. So for those of you that don't know, they have it's essentially these tanks, and when you sit in one, it completely blocks you off from the external world. It's very quiet inside these. They're pitch black usually, and the water, I believe it's water that you're sitting in, has been adjusted to skin temperature. And once you're in there for long enough, like, if you don't move, people say it's kind of difficult to tell where your body starts and ends because the water is
just
skin
extending
temperature.
your body.
And I think also, like, I don't know what else they do to it, but I think it's like extra buoyant water, so you're not as
aware of like sailing content.
I think so, yeah. So you're not as aware that you're in water. It's kind of lifting you a little bit, so you're mostly floating, but not entirely. But I think being in one of those air chambers, that'd be something like you'd be literally floating. Like that'd be
like the the philosophy question: if a guy who's blind and can't feel his and doesn't have the ability to feel, if he's falling in a continuous loop, does he know he exists?
That's interesting. I've never heard that. I like that though. I know there was with 2C-B also. It is kind of weak. I admittedly have not taken. I've seen people and read reports that say they took too much 2C-B. It got too intense too fast. I plan to definitely up the dose. I'll probably cap myself at about 40.
50.
Maybe, it depends on how strong 40 is. But with 2C-B, like it's pretty cool and it's definitely fun. But it was a bit underwhelming. So I think from now on, I'll mostly just combine it with other things. The big one that I want to combine it with is Molly, because I really enjoy the empathetic feelings of Molly, but I love visuals. Like that's what it's my one of my favorite things when I take psychedelics are those visuals. And I don't like taking the intensely high amount of Molly I have to start tripping. So I think from now on, I'll just take like a pretty good amount of MDMA and just supplement it with some 2C-B so I can get like a nice empathy going in addition to some pretty cool visuals. Plus, apparently music, I don't think I paid attention to music that much on my last 2C-B trip, but a lot of people, I read a report where a dude said he literally came in his pants when he was listening to music. Like, music sounded so good. He orgasmed.
Have you seen the new Workaholics episode?
Yeah.
I think he comes in his pants off the speed bumps listening to I don't even remember what that song. That was the funniest shit. But side note.
That was a good episode. Season 6, episode 10, I believe, is what we're talking about.
Episode in the season.
It was a pretty good episode. But yeah, I've read a trip report where a dude literally ejaculated from how good music sounded.
Do you remember the trip report you told to us about how 2C-B, how a fart ruined the 2C-B trip?
Yeah, I read a trip report online about these two guys that took 30 milligrams of 2C-B, I believe, and one of them farted right as the trip was starting, And his friend said throughout the whole trip, the guy was worried that he shit his pants. And for the whole 4 hours, he kept smelling fart. So he
kept checking his pants to see if he shit himself.
Whew, that's good.
God.
But yeah, I'd love to try 2CB with Molly because Molly makes music sound amazing to me as well. So I figure if you combine the two,
You might come.
I might just uncontrollably ejaculate everywhere if I
wear
take the combination.
You better not wear your best pair of khakis. One time I came so hard, I passed out. They had to take me to the hospital. It was amazing.
But I definitely would like to take 2CB with Molly. I have taken a small amount of 2CB, 25 milligrams, with LSD, and that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that. I got visuals of a new caliber that I'm not used to. The two that mainly stuck out to me is when I would look at walls, I would see them swirl together.
Really?
But in a way that's like, I don't know the best way to describe it. I believe there's photo editing or photo editing software that like you can take a picture of something and then click on an area with your mouse, and then the entire picture will slowly rotate into that area. And the longer you hold the click, the more obscure and blurred the rotation gets. So when I would look at walls, I would see like them stream together and start to rotate. I also saw 3D patterns, which I've never seen before. Usually when I get patterns, it's because I'm looking at trees or the ground or walls, a solid object where the patterns can be projected onto. But with this, I saw a self-replicating pattern break out into 3D space. I believe I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was.
I don't know if you brought it up on the cast, but I remember you talking about your first like 3D in the air object.
To put it simply, for those of you that are familiar with SpongeBob, when SpongeBob was talking to Sandy and asking her like what like abilities that she can and can't do, one of them he says is, "Can you reproduce by budding?" And then little SpongeBobs break out from the main SpongeBob. That's kind of the nature of this hallucination. It was like a cube in 3D space that like smaller cubes would burst off from the side of it. And then those smaller cubes would in turn have smaller cubes that would burst off of those, and so on and so on and so on, until this one cube grew into this cubic cloud that was floating in my room. 2CB is definitely different. Like, I feel like those are some kind of things you just wouldn't see on acid by itself. So I definitely plan to continue to experiment with it and see what else is there. I think with 2CB,
you need to wank with it.
I do need to wank with it. I think 2CB has. I completely lost my train of thought.
Too busy focusing on wanking.
Oh, I think like in my experience, the visuals have been really different every time. So I feel like the same is true when you combine it with things. So maybe if you want to spice up your trip or your roll, you just throw in a bit of 2CB and you'll see some stuff you've never seen before.
2CB and cocaine. 2CB and meth.
2CB and alcohol. Endless possibilities.
2CB and jankum.
I do not advocate taking 2CB and alcohol. I don't know the science, but I feel like it's dangerous.
I feel like anything with alcohol is dangerous.
Yeah, I think if you take alcohol and Molly together, it makes Molly like literally 8 times as neurotoxic. It becomes significantly worse for you. It's
Maybe
a big problem.
Chug those beers at my birthday party.
Oh well. Yeah. No way, that wasn't Molly. That was methadone.
Oh yeah, that was a whole nother drug that we did.
Whole nother thing. But I I think like I apologize that this that our discussion of 2CB was much shorter than our other episodes, but it's just it's something we don't have a ton of experience with, and in the coming weeks you'll definitely get some more trip reports from it. But we recently
also took acid that weekend.
yes,
The
so
very next day.
the 2CB episode or portion of this episode is pretty much done, but we would like to discuss our acid trip that
And
we
this was a good
recently
one.
had. Yeah, a top tier trip.
So start out with it was me, Kirk, and our other friend, Dude. And this is Dude's first time. Actually, he took that 2CB with us as well. I don't know how he did with it, but
Yeah, we gave him some like he's I was kind of worried about whether or not he'd be able to handle the LSD, so I thought 2CB would be it's like I think it's a good tiptoeing psychedelic. It's a good way to get a feel
yeah.
for the waters of psychedelia.
And he handled it well, so we were like, "Step up, big boy."
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry. To give reference to how much we each took. Dude took 100 micrograms. I took 200, and Alex took 300.
that ended up being like 2 tabs, 1.5, and like 1. So I
Ish,
took
yeah.
2, yeah. But we took it Sunday. It was really, really nice outside. So we took it like, what, 10 o'clock?
I believe so, yeah.
10
It's been
o'clock.
a pretty shitty weekend in terms of the weather. When I trip, I like to be outside, and it was like one day it was overcast the entire day, and it started to pour at like 6 p.m., and the other day it just rained all day. But this was like a good, bright, dry day.
So we took it at 10 o'clock, and we were like, we're going to walk to the campus, UWF campus, because Kirk lives so close to there. And we grabbed we had packed pretty well for this. I brought my like laptop to record, and like we had our hiking gear on, our backpacks, and we also brought fucking folding chairs with us. And so our chairs were just wherever we wanted to fucking sit down. We'd throw our chairs down like kings, and that was our realm right there. So we dropped this acid, and we just fucking take off walking with our chairs behind our backs. We probably got quite a few looks, but it didn't really matter to us.
The first place we went to, I kind of took them on a small tour around campus. The first place we went to was like this rolling decline plane area. It started off the side of the road, and then it went out for about 15 feet, then it dropped a few feet, then went out for another 15 and dropped a few. And so it was kind of like a rolling hill, if that makes sense, going downward.
And they had this like cute purple tree, and it was I don't know what kind of tree it was. It just had like these little blossoming like leaves, and it like a cherry blossom but small and purple.
Yeah, something I haven't really seen in Florida. I can't imagine it's native.
And they look really, really nice. Purple against like this green background. The colors of the colors were really brought out by the acid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember us sitting there, and I was feeling like I felt it like boom instantly. Like within 15 minutes, I was tripping. And this is probably 30 minutes in, and we sit down, and I'm like, I feel like I'm melting, and I feel like I'm pulling on my facial hair, and it feels like cotton candy on my face, and it was amazing. A super relaxed feeling for being so stimulated. We chilled there for a while, but we didn't want to like get stuck.
Yeah, I when I went to that spot a few weeks prior, I brought a towel and laid down, which is what I really preferred. I wasn't feeling just sitting there in the chair. Like I couldn't find a comfortable place to sit, and that wasn't the location I was most excited for. What I was most excited for was where we went next, which Do you want to continue on to that, or did you
Oh
have some
yeah,
more to
yeah.
say?
No, I mean we kept on walking till we got to this gate, the impenetrable gate. It's literally like a gate with like 5 feet of clearance on both sides, really stopping nobody from getting by it.
It's
Maybe if you had a semi trailer, you couldn't get through there, but that's all it's stopping.
I know one of my roommates last year, he had a pickup truck and he could maneuver around that gate. It literally was stopping nobody. Um, but it's this what the gate was the entrance to is this wooded path on the way down to a dock, which is on the water of like this river that is kind of around the campus.
Yeah, it's like I think it's just an inlet from the ocean right there. I mean, the Gulf Coast.
It might be.
But it's right there on the it was super nice, and it's kind of like very secluded to be on a campus.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a decent walk down this trail. I mean, it's like 10-15 minutes. So we get down there, and the dog is kind of like caved in a little few in places, like it's offset, and
Mm-hmm.
so it gives you the feeling of like being in like a people growing as you walk away and getting smaller as they come back towards you. I remember our dude was really losing his stuff. Like it was me walking up and down, like getting bigger and smaller. Um, I'm trying to remember what. Oh yeah, eventually it got like it was just so nice out there. So we just laid in the sun out there, rip, and
Which so it was a hot day, and when we
we
were
were
laying
up,
out
and
there,
the crest of the sun was on us.
yeah, it was beaming, and I'm kind of twitchy around wasps, and there was a lot of red wasp on the dock, just like doing their thing, chilling, not really fucking with us, but I was still very aware that I was surrounded by wasps, and we
You
chill on this
stand,
dock.
you stood up and you were like, "Yeah, I need to go," and we were like, "Go where?" And you were like, "I need to go inside," and we were like, "Dude, we're like 30 minutes from any inside."
Yeah, I couldn't. What I was trying to communicate was that I needed to get in the shade just because, like, I was really hot. And the setup I had is I opened the chair, the folding chair I had with me, and placed it above my head. So my head was shaded from the sun, but the rest of me was just getting crisp. So I take the chair and I start walking back towards the trail because I need shade. I need to get out of the sun. I just want to cool off a little bit. Um, this is where things got mildly negative. It was my fault, admittedly, but my mindset was I
Just gotta
need.
walk out in the shade.
Yeah, my mindset was like I need shade, and when I got to the shade, I was like, wait, did I want to go to the shade or did I want to go to? We have a building called the Commons. It's always open, always air conditioned, but it's in the middle of campus, very far away from where we are. So I was like, I need to go to the Commons, and then I'd walk like 15 feet. Then I'd be like, no, wait, yeah, no, I need shade, and then I'd kind of flip flop on that, and I convinced myself that I already walked so far. I knew what I was doing. The me that started walking knew that I wanted to go to the Commons. So whenever I would question myself about, am I walking too far? I'd be like, no, I wouldn't do that. I know what's best for me. So I just kept walking. I'm also listening to classical music at this point. So I'm just really disoriented. I'm really enjoying walking. I'm really enjoying the music. And that's kind of what my mindset was. I walk essentially to the beginning of this trail where I decide I'm not going to keep walking. I'm going to sit in this shade and just chill. I open the folding chair, and that's where I pop a squat staring down the path, which is amazing, by the way. I saw some of the coolest visuals I've ever seen looking down that path. And that's where
Well,
I stood waiting, listening to music for until you guys showed up.
yeah, when you left, we were still chilling on the dock. I had like taken off my shirt for a little sun tanning, and I think a dude rolled up his sleeve as well. But we were having a good time out there, and I was telling him I felt like I was in like a Rockwell painting, like not necessarily a Rockwell painting because those are basic. I was in a like a very artsy like dentist room painting. Just something you would find on the fucking waiting room of your dentist office.
It is a very scenic view, you know. It's a dock. The river was, because from all the rain, the river was high, really high. Like the water was probably a few inches from the dock. Like it was. I haven't seen it that high in a while.
It was baked.
It toasted.
High as Willie Nelson.
But yeah, very scenic view, surrounded by nature, the river. Good day. Anyway, continue.
Eventually, I told dude I was gonna go find you and see where you walked off to. During this whole time, I had picked up a Nigerian accent, and I was referring to Kirk as a white skeleton, and he was our spiritual guide walking around the campus, leading us. And so I was talking to Tyler. I was like, dude. I was talking to dude, and I was like, I must go now to find white skeleton. You'll stay here. Do not look for me if I leave. And so I walk off, and eventually I don't see you, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna leave him. And so I look at those like sacrificial altars, and I climb up on one. I'm like, what? I'm way up in the air. And then I hear a dude, he's like, yo, Alex. And I like, oh shit, I left him. And so I had to walk back. And he was like, whew. I was seeing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, are you good, man? He's like, I don't know, man. I wasn't in a good place. And I was like, well, you're all right, man. It's cool. You're with me. And so I was like, let's go find wherever Kirk went. White skeleton. And we started off just walking there. I figured like you didn't run into the woods, so we were just gonna run into you eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "What? I don't think he would like leave us though. Like we don't know where we're going." But eventually, we turned down that path, and once we got to the end, you were there under a tree watching us walk up to you. And we popped a squat, and dude started talking about what he saw. And I think he said he was seeing like skeletons and like some scary shit. Like,
well, what I think happened after hearing him explain it, and this was kind of an error in judgment on my part. Psychedelics can get like, they can change your thought pattern, and they can typically get introspective. 2C-B, not so much. Like, you stay kind of sober. Like, you're in a pretty sober headspace, just shit's going on. But with acid, it changes the way you think. You can kind of look inward. You can start questioning things. I feel like parts of dude, he's a little bit of a pessimist, kind of sees the downer side in some things. Mm-hmm. And I think he wasn't expecting the introspection of LSD combined with him kind of looking on the bleaker side of things.
Yeah.
Really quickly.
Reflected it to us, like leaving him reflecting to a like us departing in real life, going our separate ways because school and whatnot. Everybody kind of has that feeling, but during a trip you can kind of bring it out, something you weren't even thinking about, and it you just have a metaphor right then and there, and you can kind of remember it again.
Mm-hmm. Plus, like, yeah, when you're tripping, your thinking is exaggerated, your feeling is exaggerated. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling pretty good, you're gonna like, if you go into a trip feeling pretty good, you're gonna feel like hot shit when you start tripping. But if you get a little anxious or a little paranoid, then you can like really start to lose your shit. I know on a 150 microgram trip, I almost flushed all my drugs down the toilet because I thought, I thought cops were at the door. So I was like, shit, man, I gotta fucking flush this right now. And
good thing you didn't, dude. That would have been a waste.
I know. I'm really glad I didn't. But like, your actions and your thoughts can be really exaggerated. And I think like he wasn't prepared for that, and it just kind of took him by surprise, and how quickly he went to a dark place, just like that change kind of scared him a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
And that just quickly went down a path to a bad place. But you guys catch up with me. You bust out your laptop and your mic.
Yeah, actually, I got some recording. I'll probably do like a little short video like I did myself.
Is it anything worth uploading? Like,
it'll be a very short clip, I imagine. I may do like something to what dude was describing.
Okay.
But I mean, I still have to run through the audio. It's like 30 minutes of audio saved up, and I just haven't got the the motivation to look through it.
Well, because I'm sure 27 minutes of it are just silence.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of us like,
I bet it. I know a lot of it is just us staring at the ground.
yeah,
I'm sure
I mean,
a decent
really.
amount of it too is incoherent ramblings.
But I listened to it, and there was probably enough for like a short vid that would be interesting.
Okay.
Once I get the motivation to do it, if I ever do. But that was really nice sitting under that shade tree, looking down the path. But we eventually decided to get up and keep moving, and we walked to like the cliff side, and it was super nice.
Yeah, the UWF campus is kind of a circle, and you can follow this outside road, and you do a circle around campus. And some of the cooler things on campus are outside of the circle. So we were just following the rotation, and right after the dock, there is this. I mean, the best way to describe it is a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like this just sharp drop off of
It's
UWF.
like it just goes straight into like this valley that's pretty like deep for Florida. Like, not
yeah, for sure. I didn't know Florida had like height differences like that. Like at the top of this cliff, we are dozens of feet above the treetops.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we are very in the air. We can look over and see I believe part of downtown Pensacola, like
You can
across
see
the way.
miles and miles, and the leaves were still kind of reddish yellow coming into spring green, and so it was a very nice like clash of like colors. And we sat out there and just walked there. Eventually, I like threw my chair up on the table, and I was sitting in my chair on the table. Just rocking it, we were like laughing, like giggling the whole time, having a good time. We kept walking, and I think like at one point you just given up leading the group, and you just let me lead it, and I didn't have any clue where I was going. But eventually we make it back to where you used to live on campus. What's that building called?
It's Heritage. Heritage is where I lived. President's is a similar building, but it's a bit closer to where we were, and it has a Papa John's in the base of it, which is pretty cool.
And we went to the place where we took mushrooms at UWF. This like tower, and we laughed and trooped in there, and there was some pretty interesting like architecture going on outside of that place as well.
I really enjoy the architecture, like within 60-ish feet of that area. The building itself is still being worked on, so there's not a whole lot of people there in general. The stairwell is like a brick stairwell with its own little hideaway. It's a very cool thing to like look at.
A lot of elevation changes, and that's like little courtyard.
Yeah. So next to the stairs, there's, like you said, this little courtyard. And in this courtyard, there are tables for studying. There are big concrete walls as a divider. There are multiple stairs that can take you like 10 feet above, where there's just more interesting architecture, chairs, buildings, all kinds of things like that.
It looks like it's supposed to have like a hustling, bustling center, but it's got literally like nobody I've ever seen over there.
Yeah, it's not a popular place for some reason.
Kind of like just an ominous, dead campus place. Like, why did they build all this and nobody's here?
Yeah, I mean, you would think it'd be one of the most happening places on campus, but very rarely are people actually there. Um, Even like more up in the elevation, they have these 3 trees, I believe, large oak trees that are growing, and there are these wooden benches that go around the trees that are actually pretty comfortable. So it's not uncommon to see people laying down there taking a nap or something. Like it's a really cool area, unique. It's like a place I've never been to before.
We eventually turned on some of our acid trip music. And that was cool, I guess. I mean, Kurt put it in his pocket and he like walked around with it, and it was he had this like this aura of EDM going around. Eventually, though, we decided, we better head back because we had left at like 10 o'clock, and this was like 2 o'clock. We were like, we need to get back. We're pretty tired of shit. You know what I mean? We sweated our asses off, walking and hiking around on our spirit quest.
Admittedly, like I feel like I could have just I could have stayed outside or kept walking for another 5 hours or so. Like
really, the acid just like made you really comfortable. Like I wasn't ever super hot. I was like really comfortable in what I was like wearing.
Definitely the LSD helped, but I think part of it is like I wasn't sweating nearly as much as you and dude. Like my pits were a little sweaty, and that's it. Like that's the extent of how hot I got.
You had 2 shirts on though.
I mean that's true, but like
we
when
had
I look
dry fit shirts on, so I feel like they cling to your back a little better.
Maybe that's it. I guess I thought I wasn't sweating that much. Like maybe I was dehydrated, but I
may have been.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't sweating that much at all. Especially when when we first stopped at that plain area, you already had like a line of sweat down your back.
Yeah, I was sweating. I mean, I sweat pretty hard, but not like. I mean, a dude sweats like nobody else. You don't ever want to play a pickup game and post up on him after it's been like 20 minutes in basketball. It's so cute. But yeah, I guess we're just sweaty guys. I mean, you had already cooled off to the.
That's true.
Also, you didn't sit in the sun as much as we did.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah,
I think we walked 15,000 steps that day. So, what is that, like around 3 miles?
So maybe somewhere in there.
A good fucking hike.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say more than 3. I'd say closer to 4, maybe 4.5. Because I feel like a mile is 5,280. Well, I feel like I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my steps are much more than 1 foot. Like, one step is probably 2.5 feet.
True. I didn't even fucking I was just counting 1 step, 1 foot.
Yeah, no, I think we walked, 4.5 miles.
It was pretty long distance. But it was a comfortable walk. It wasn't ever rough. I know the chairs got heavy every now and then. When we were walking back, you eventually got lost and we didn't know where to go.
So I was pretty steadfast with like my plan was just to keep following that road. Like I thought it would have led us to where we needed to go.
It probably would have, but it would have been like an extra 3 miles.
No. When dude pulled it up on his phone, that was the correct way to go.
No, you wanted to go a completely other way. We like cut back through where we were going. Like you wanted to go straight, and we took a hard left.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, okay, yeah. I don't know how to navigate campus if you leave the roads, but like it's the road we were following is the road that kind of creates a massive circle around campus.
We were at like the main. I imagine it was like a main admissions office or something. It looked like a important building where we got like lost at.
It might have been the medical center.
It may
Yeah,
have
like
been.
when we were walking there, I was pretty sure that if we followed that road, it'd be right. But after one of you asked something along the lines of, "Are you sure you know where we're going?" And as soon as you asked that, I started second guessing myself, and I just wasn't sure.
Uh,
I'm so used to not knowing where things are that if I think I know where something is, in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, you don't know where that is. You are most likely wrong.
You're most likely wrong. Yeah. Uh, but I mean, that was 5 hours when we eventually got back, and we get back and we roll up in the room, and your roommate's like, "Damn, it looks like you guys got some sun," and we were burnt to shit. Me and dude, we were fucking
Yeah, so you're
fried.
you're a pretty fair skinned guy. I would say that's fair to say. You
Yeah,
were literally purple when we got back to the apartment.
my
Like
forehead was purple.
like not a light purple, a dark purple. I was googling
I
sun
was like,
poisoning.
oh shit.
Yeah, I was googling sun poisoning on my phone because I was like, should we call someone about this? Like, I've
It
seen
wasn't
people get
hurt.
red, but I've never seen someone get purple.
I mean, like it's just part of my face to get burnt really bad, but it eventually it just subsides to a less malicious degree. It eventually just sets into like a nice little red burn.
It was
Um,
something. I'm sure the acid also kind of affected how we were perceiving it,
mhm.
but your face was like your face was a deep royal purple, your entire head, but your body was like a light purple. Like your face looked like you. I can't even think of a good analogy, like a massive grape, but the rest of your body looked like you just had one big bruise all over your entire body. That's kind of the degree of the severity of purple that was going on with
Oh shit! Yeah, I was like, oh, I fucked up. This is gonna be bad, but
him.
it peeled like in shit no time. Like it's a week from that day, and I'm not peeling anymore. Like I'm good to go.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
was
that's good. Like
it was
I
a very
wouldn't
light burn.
at the stage you were at. The pain from the burn would have been the least of my concerns. I thought you for sure contracted cancer from how purple you got.
Contracted cancer.
But yeah, for those of you that have taken LSD both inside and outside, you kind of know like it's fun outside, and I plan to. I've only taken it in or outside once, and that was that day. It's usually really shit weather, so I have to trip inside. But I plan to try and focus more just on nature and the environment when I trip outside. But when you're outside, it kind of like I guess it expands your trip so much that it
Mhm.
kind of dulls it a little bit. So once
Yeah,
we
there's a
get
lot
in,
going on.
yeah, there is a lot going on. And you
And
know,
with
when you're,
acid, you kind of have to tune into stuff to really trip hard.
especially like if you're, a good way to kind of chill out a trip is just to start moving, you know.
Hmm.
Acid, like the longer you sit and stare, the more intense it gets. So all you have to do is move around to kind of ease the trip off. Um, so once we get inside, you know, it was a good trip outside. I really enjoyed what I
I
saw,
got
how I
my
was
first
feeling.
shower. It was amazing. Best shower I've ever taken.
But yeah, once we get inside, you know, that's where the trip gets hyper visual. And I kind of wish we asked dude to see which one he preferred, inside or outside.
Mm.
But I mean, tripping inside is so fantastic. Like you are just surrounded by visuals and you're just flush with the emotions of LSD. It's fantastic. I love tripping inside.
Um, I remember definitely it was more powerful when we got inside. I also remember like we got inside and I just wanted to light up a bowl to relax,
Mm.
and I smoked that bowl in like fucking nothing, like absolutely no high at all. And then I was like, well, shit, maybe I'll hit a dab. Hit that dab, nothing. I was like, well, goddamn. So I get to this like phase of like, damn, I just want to get high. I was like, I'm just like, my mind is so stimulated, I just want to fucking chill out. And I was really disappointed I couldn't get high.
That's pretty funny. I didn't know that's why you wanted to smoke. I tried taking a dab as well, and it wasn't bad, but you don't feel anything. Like 3 seconds after you exhale, you could believe you didn't take anything at all. Like I feel like it has almost zero impact on the trip. It might spike the visuals for a minute or two, but that's about it.
But yeah, I mean, I was just craving some chilling. I mean, and I feel like after a little while, I was getting kind of like bored. I felt like I needed to be doing something, occupying myself, but I was just like, I don't know, really nothing to do, until your roommate broke out this like longboard. I don't know what you would call it. It's a skateboard, but it's long.
Yeah, it is a longboard.
And I mean, we just took turns just riding it back and forth in your like kitchen, and that was super super fun. Like I had never hopped on a skateboard before, because I have like really bad balance, but it was coming like pretty quick to me. I imagine. Like I was getting it down pretty solid. I felt like after like 45 minutes of just riding it back and forth in your living room, I could have went outside and like skated down the sidewalk. I mean, I couldn't like stop or anything, but I could fucking skate down the sidewalk and hold my balance. And so
it's interesting that you say that. I was researching just various substances the other day, and that's a complaint I was seeing a lot with people about LSD is that they feel like they have this nagging to do something. I guess it's from the stimulation, but I personally never get that. Like I'm always just as contempt. Like I could have laid there with my eyes closed. I could have gone in the closet. I could have been at the top of a mountain. Like it was all the same to me. I really enjoyed that. But that's interesting that you got like this borededness.
It's like it's weird to call bored because I was tripping pretty substantially, but I wanted to be. I couldn't relax. It was the question. But after started hopping on that board, I was occupied and happy again.
Now I did want to take a moment and say, so during that trip, my 200 microgram LSD trip, I had the craziest visuals I've ever seen, the most intense. There was a point where I was just the way I was sitting in this love seat. I had my left leg kind of in my face, like a few inches away from my face. And I was looking at the inner side of my left leg, mainly focusing on my calf. And I'm not like a super hairy dude, but there's a decent amount of leg hair there. And when I was just staring at my leg, the visuals were quickly going through all kinds of things I've never seen before. So some of the ones that really stand out, I think part of what was causing this is my leg hair, it kind of goes over one another. So that was creating different layers. Mm-hmm. And the hair itself was creating lines to different shapes. So the LSD would just kind of fill in the blanks for me. So I was having all kinds of geometric patterns that I've never really seen before. Specifically, some of the few I remember is my leg at one point looked like it was completely replaced with miniature disco balls that, starting from the left to the right, were changing color on a gradient. So like it would start off red, and then the more right you got, it went from like red to orange to yellow to green to blue to purple. And it looked 100% like my leg was made up of these multicolored disco balls. Mm-hmm. That quickly changed into rotating gears. That quickly changed into, I was literally watching a movie on my leg. I saw
eventually I had turned to you. I was like, dude, are you all right? And you had just been staring at your leg for literally 20 minutes.
It was the most insane visuals I've ever seen. Like, are you familiar with the song "Take on Me"?
I don't think so.
Um, the music video is unique. It's done in a style of like sketches. So the music video is kind of like a stop motion sketchbook. And
Yeah.
I was watching a movie in that same style where it started with a close up of a woman, clearly defined woman. And then in that same flipbook style, the camera panned out. She was wearing a purple dress and she started ballroom dancing across my leg. Like,
Whoa.
I've never seen anything like that before. I think one of the things I'm going to do the next time I take acid is try and focus on something. Like my roommate, when he took it, he was looking at parts of his body, and like I just never thought to do what he was doing. He was looking at his inner arm, and you know, most people don't really have a lot of hair on their inner arm. And he said he was able to see his vitals, like because he's an anatomy, or he's taken anatomy classes before, so he really knows what's all in there and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he was able to, like, he would stare at it for a minute and he could kind of see the inner workings of his arm, and then he'd look at it for a couple more minutes and a few layers of skin would peel away and he could see even more defined what was going on, and then a few more layers would go away and a few more layers would go away, and he was just like x-raying through the biology of his arm.
I remember getting a lot of claymation. I felt like sometimes I felt like I was in a painting, and other times I felt like I was watching a stop motion claymation video. Your roommate came in and he was like, "So how are you handling it?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm handling it pretty well." But I felt like at that moment, like a lot of people couldn't have handled 300 milligrams. And I'm looking at his face.
Micrograms.
Yeah, milligrams too. So I'm looking at his face, and one eye on the right side of his face is 2 inches lower than his left eye. It's kind of sagging. It looks like he had a super like gnarly seizure. Stroke. I mean, yeah. Isn't it a stroke when one side of your face goes like limp?
Yes, yeah, I think it is a stroke.
And so this other side of his face is 2 inches lower, and there's also his face is okay. Imagine like you split his face in half and put those heads on the other side, like equal sides of it. I'm trying to like blow his face up and put it right behind his face. That's what it looked like. I could see like eyes on the side of his head and like the mouth on the side of his head, like a face was just behind his face.
That's so interesting.
Extremely like trippy. And I got that with both you and dude. Like that was how I viewed people. When I was in your room.
That's interesting. I know one of the things that I see is common with reading about LSD and like what it does to different things that you look at. A lot of people don't like looking at other people on LSD because it just makes people look fucking weird.
Yeah,
like,
it does make people look fucking weird.
LSD just distorts your face. I know what's really common with me when I take LSD is take about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, a few centimeters for our friends across the pond. The area right above your eyes to about mid forehead. Yeah, like your brow ridge area. Mm-hmm. Take that and put it on top of itself. So the face, like the entire head, grows about 1.5 inches. And when I'm on LSD, that's what I see with people. They look like they have 2 brow ridges.
Double the
so
brow.
Like, yeah. Yes. Yeah. LSD just it really makes people look odd, like super weird facial distortions.
But we stayed at your place for a while, and we eventually we were like, I think we're down. Let's go get something to eat. And we went to.
I wasn't fucking down, dude. I was tripping so goddamn long. I don't know why LSD just affects me.
I was tripping hard too, but I felt mildly down.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. I mean, I handled myself enough to be in public and to talk to a waitress.
So dude drives us, and he had taken less than us. He said, "Yeah, I feel pretty sober," and he's like, As we're driving, he's like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't have drove. And we went to, where did we go eat?
Charlie's. It's a
Oh, Charlie's.
it's like
American style.
a it's kind of like a bar and grill place, but
American style food, yeah.
yeah, definitely American style food. It wasn't what I was expecting though. I was expecting like the average dish to be $15 to $25. Not super nice, but not Cracker Barrel, you know.
Yeah.
This was a lower tier restaurant than the advertisements
I
imply.
felt like, when that like the in SpongeBob when the company tried to take over the Krusty Krab and make it like a generic sports bar restaurant. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, that's a
like
good
it
way
was
to put it.
so generic.
Yeah, it was just a super generic kind of underwhelming place.
But the food, and you don't usually eat on acid or any psychedelic, but it was surprisingly good. Like I'd never really eaten much on acid, and I mean, pretty good food.
I'm always like with acid, I don't know why. I wish more research would go into like people really don't enjoy eating meat on acid. But really like fruit and vegetables. I love eating, like every time I trip, I usually eat one apple, one cutie, and probably half an avocado. It is amazing. I love eating fruit when I'm on LSD.
I don't know, dude. I had some chicken tenders and they were fire flames. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think you had a hamburger, didn't you?
Club sandwich, sweet potato fries.
Top tier.
Yeah, it was super good.
But when we got back to your place, I feel like we were just exhausted. But at the same time, we were still like stimulated. Like I would give anything just to like come down right then and there.
What I might start doing, I don't want to keep benzos on me, but a lot of people they use Xanax as a way to like kind of fucking knock you out. Like if you're on a trip a lot of people use it as like an escape rope to a bad trip. So if you just fuck up and you're starting to freak out, you take some Xanax, and 20 minutes later, you're either asleep or sober. So, well, not sober, but you're not in the same place you were. Yeah. So I think I might procure some Xanax and just keep it as a way to help me go to sleep. Like both times I've taken acid, or the last two times I've taken it, I mean, I took it before 12 o'clock and I didn't go to sleep until 4 or 5 in the morning. Like
I remember taking like that night I took 3 dabs, like dab, dab, dab. And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel a buzz. And I was like, I'm going to fucking go to bed right now. Because if this shit
I apologize.
What's up? You there? So I think you went out, but so yeah, I hit those 3 dabs and I was fucking feeling it, and I went to bed right then and there. I remember the next morning I went to check up on Kirk, and he was just toast, like he was exhausted laying in bed. I blew smoke in his mouth and everything. I couldn't wait. Okay, you're back.
Yeah. That was weird.
Yeah, weird cutout, but you were super tired the next day.
Yeah, acid just exhausts me. That's why I think I really think I will try and get into some kind of benzo, because I think it is normal for people to just have a hard time going to sleep. But I feel like if you're taking acid at 9 a.m. and you still can't go to bed before 2, like that's ridiculous. I was almost awake for 24 hours.
Yeah,
I think I'm just gonna start keeping those stocked to kill trips and just help me go to sleep. I love LSD, but that is a real bitch to work with.
I hate being awake that long.
It's such a pain in the ass, especially when like all you want is sleep, but your mind just won't let it happen. I turn to a dark corner and I start seeing swirls and patterns. I close my eyes and it's just color. Like it's a pain in the ass. It's fun, but fucking pain in the ass. So I did have a couple questions for you that I didn't ask
Sure.
during the previous weekend. So that was a 300 microgram trip that you took. I have not done 300 micrograms. How did you like it compared to the 200 and the 100 that you've done?
I felt like the peak of the trip was definitely more intense than my other trips. I really just the tail end of it, the come down was just unpleasant to me in a way.
Mm.
Um,
Now, when you say the come down was unpleasant, are you referencing the boredom or just how
yeah, just
long?
like the inability to relax. I was just I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it then.
Okay, that's understandable.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that was definitely. I was looking for a powerful acid trip because I've never really had a super powerful one, and that
Hmm.
was definitely powerful.
Yeah, based on my research, again, I've never done 300, but they say 300 is the beginning of heavy territory with acid.
I felt
Um,
like I could have gone maybe half a tab farther, maybe a full tab farther. But I feel like I have a kind of a tolerance to psychedelics. I don't know why,
hmm,
but I don't feel like they affect me as strongly as other people.
interesting. Yeah, I plan on my next trip. I plan on taking again 300 unless I have to watch someone. But I think I'm gonna cap myself at 4, maybe 5. Um, I would say like my end goal would be to achieve full synesthesia,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, like I think I'm pretty good with LSD in terms of strength. Like I
I want to
can't
be able
really.
to like taste things through my dick. That's the end game for me. When I can fucking like taste shit with my dick, that's like, whoa, I made it.
what what more would you even need to do? That is the apex of the psychedelic experience.
I want to be able to come on command.
But yeah, synesthesia. That's the
What's your
target.
goals?
That's my goal. I read trip reports about people that take upwards of 1,000, and I don't know if I'll ever do that. Like, I don't know if I see the purpose in doing that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll get up to 500 and think like, well, let's wade over to the deep end. Um,
Go hard or go home, pussy.
yeah, maybe I'll start popping 10 strips, but
Maybe you'll fuck up and like fall asleep and your face will be on the acid and you'll absorb it into your body. And you'll wake up after dropping like 25 hits.
I think you did answer this, but would you would you want to do more the next time we trip? What do you think you're gonna aim for? Another 300 or 400 or 350?
I
Two?
don't know. If you have benzos, I may go more, but if not, I may just stay like at 300, maybe 250.
That's understandable. I I think benzos will be my next purchase. I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit of an elitist. I don't want
Pills?
pills on me, but I mean they're so useful.
Don't
I
you
might
have
just
some sort of pill on you?
I have painkillers, but that was from getting my wisdom tooth removed.
What
That's
are
like
those?
um I think there's 7.5 milligrams of hydrocodone.
No, okay.
I think like
So
they're
they're
not.
not Xannies.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're definitely not Xannies.
I was about to be in the Zanny family.
They might be. I think.
No, I'm just that was a song reference.
Oh, did not know that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about like. I'm not super knowledgeable about just substances, but I know most about psychedelics. Outside of that, like amphetamines and benzos, I am woefully ignorant. Um, so I need to educate myself a little bit with that. On your 300 microgram trip, what would you say like? Did you have any standout visuals? Something that really cemented itself? Like, I think I'm gonna remember staring at my leg
Besides,
for years to come.
besides like the claymation of people's faces and their bodies, I definitely remember like the visuals out on the dock. Just like the very like essence of being in a painting. That was very nice.
See, that's interesting. So when we were out on the dock, what were you mainly staring at?
Just the tree ridge. Yeah, the tree ridge along where the river light reflected on it.
Okay, so what I was looking at is I was laying down on my back on the dock. Um, I was staring at the sky and the clouds, and I was definitely getting patterns, visuals, and fractals. But because they had nothing to like submit themselves on, like a wall, for instance,
Hmm.
it was very difficult for me to. I was definitely seeing them, but I couldn't conceptualize what I was seeing, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Like,
I understand what you mean.
yeah, there was no way for me to take in and memorize what I was seeing because it was just like it was
Not
patterns
relatable.
in the sky. Yeah, like I just couldn't take them in. I should have. I kind of wish I paid more attention to the water and to the trees, but I do enjoy looking at the sky. It's one of my favorite things to
Yeah, I
do while
remember
tripping.
you like there was some clouds out, and you were like, "Hell yeah, clouds!"
I fucking love clouds when I trip. Like a blue sky isn't bad, but there's just kind of nothing to look at. It's just undiscernible visuals as far as the eye can see, as opposed to looking at clouds where like I've seen some clouds. Like, I don't know if it's the LSD doing anything,
Hmm.
but I feel like I can literally watch clouds change shape in a more coherent way than I can sober. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like I can actually see the cloud, get a good idea for its shape, and then watch it change, as opposed
yeah,
to sober, where you're just like, yeah, that's a cloud.
yeah. I can like you can almost make up with your mind the cloud disintegrating and growing back.
Yeah, like I feel like you can see it move in a way like when you're sober, it's just kind of lazily drifting from one part to the other. But like, a cloud is just like I don't know, a group of vapor. So I feel like when you're tripping, I saw it on 2C-B as well. I feel like you can more easily see the cloud move and grow and recede.
Very well.
It's a lot of fun.
Um, I mean that's pretty much all I had prepared.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'm done too. Just the 2C-B and the fucking acid trip was almost twice as long as the damn 2C-B. But
well, it was twice as long in real life, so more to
that's
talk
true.
about. Thanks for joining us. Come back next week where we may talk about, I don't know, DMT.
Yeah, I think DMT is the next one. I would rather us talk about things that we've done. So we need to get together and really do some changa, smokable ayahuasca. For you guys that don't know what changa is, it's essentially just smokable ayahuasca.
Hell yeah.
Um, I think mescaline is in the near future. Um, I think I kind of want to do an edibles episode if we make the edibles strong enough. Like they will be
I was
the.
thinking about the other day, like making some pretty strong ones, just because my guy's so close to here.
That would be nice. Would you have any idea for how much you want to put into your mix? Like how much you want to decarb?
Probably a quart.
That'd be solid. Well, it
Yeah,
depends on how many brownies or cookies you're making, but yeah, that'd be
probably just
solid.
like yeah. I mean, I probably might flip them back. Who knows?
I think that'd be the way to do it, really. Like, I feel like edibles can go for. I've paid fucking $20 for a brownie before. Like, I feel like edibles can go for so much.
Hell yeah. But I mean, that's more to come. More to talk about. Always more to talk about.
Until next time.
Stay high. I keep tripping. Drop some acid.